Welcome to the Bill Moran Show on WVLP LP 103.1 FM and streaming live at WVLP.org or on your TuneIn app. We are broadcasting live from the historic 1 Center Street building in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. The Bill Moran Show is underwritten by Recovery Works of Maryville, Indiana. And now, here is your host, Bill Moran.
Welcome to the Bill Moran Show at our new time slot at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. We hope that you all get used to this new time slot because we hope to be here for a while till the FCC throws us off the air, which we hope isn't going to be any time in the near future unless Rich says something inappropriate.
I'll try to control myself.
Welcome to Bill Moran Show, and I just want to spend some time before we go on and introduce our guests to explain this new time slot and our new collaboration with the PACT of Porter County. As some of you are familiar, All Rise, who's sponsored by PACT, will be joining forces with us to create a 2-hour segment, if you will. We'll still have 2 distinct different radio shows, the Bill Moran Show, which will come on between 11 and noon. Then, of course, we'll be transitioning to All Rise, which will come on promptly at noon. Now, this next 3 weeks, Megan Johnson, who all you are familiar is the host of All Rise, is going to be on vacation. So she's taken a leave of absence till January 3rd. Then she will be coming on and actually physically joining forces with us on January 3rd, where we will have a 2-hour block, the Bill Moran Show, and immediately following the Bill Moran Show, the PACT. And we'll be both on each other's shows. So it's a collaboration, both of us helping host each other's show. But something is going to happen when she does come back. We are going to have 2 distinctly different types of programming. One, the Bill Moran Show, we are going to stray towards more of the community-related stuff, kind of straying over into some of the things that All Rise will talk about, but only in roundtable discussions. For the most part, we'll be a community-based radio show. And then All Rise, which was intended to be a topic about recovery in Porter County, will be predominantly topics related to recovery. So there you have it. I want to introduce our guests this morning. We have Rick Schmidt, who's the minister at Living Hope Church here in Valparaiso. And then we also have Sheriff David Reynolds, who's going to be actually speaking with us during the latter part of the show. So welcome. And first of all, what we're going to be talking with Rich about is some of the outreaches that are happening in Porter County, somewhat like the food and the food pantries and the men's shelters. So, Rich, you want to go ahead and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself for someone who, for some unforsaken reason, may not know who you are.
Oh, lots of people don't know me. Just because you know me doesn't mean everybody knows me. But my name's Rich Schmidt. I'm the pastor at Living Hope Community Church here in Valparaiso, and we've lived here in Valpo since 1999, so about 18 years now. And I've been fairly involved in the community in different ways. And our church tries to be one that's outward focused, not just kind of focused on our own needs, but the needs of the community. So, that's put us in touch with lots of different shelter ministries and food pantry ministries and all kinds of different things over the years. What do you want to know about first? You want to know about food and things like that?
Well, we're coming up in the holiday season, so why don't we talk about these shelters for for some poor folk out there that may not have a place to stay and are looking for some shelter.
Yeah, well, there are basically 2 main shelters that are here in Valparaiso, kind of in the heart of Porter County, and one, of course, is Housing Opportunities. They do all sorts of housing. Meet all sorts of housing needs, from immediate shelter needs all the way through low-income housing, and to helping people remain housed. People who, they do foreclosure prevention type things for people who are in their homes and trying to stay in their homes. And you can reach them at 548-2800. They do all sorts of things, including overnight shelter for men and for women. Now, for several years, our church was involved with the men's overnight shelter that went from church to church to church every night. And we didn't host them in our own location because at that time we were renting space and didn't have our own space to use for that. But then at some point, a women's shelter started. And when that was getting started, we did have our own space and we could host the women. And so Sunday nights, we had homeless women in our communities spending the night on our church floor on little bed mat type things, and provided that hospitality overnight. And then Monday nights it'd be in another church, and Tuesday nights in another church. And that went on for several years until Housing Opportunities was able to house it there at their facility on Calumet Avenue here in Valparaiso. And so women's shelter, overnight shelter, has basically all been absorbed into Housing Opportunities. And they're starting something now for men as well, to try to, they're trying to make sure that that women and men, that it's not just families with kids that are sheltered, that if there's a single man or a single woman, that they have an opportunity to be sheltered as well. So is that something that our listeners are hearing? Do you know? It sounds almost like
one
a
of those
little emergency broadcast.
Yeah, emergency
That's
broadcast.
the kind of thing
but
that just pops in.
I don't have headphones on, so I don't know if you're hearing it. Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay.
So
we're not having an emergency right now. I'm pretty sure.
no.
Okay, good.
No.
So Housing Opportunities is the first place I would send someone if they're looking for shelter. And again, their number is 548-2800. There is still a men's shelter that rotates from church to church. And to get in touch with them, I would point people toward New Creation Men's Center. They do day center services for men, as well as run a thrift store here in Valparaiso that helps to fund services for homeless men. And their number is just 548-3548. So pretty easy to remember, 548-3548. And they can put someone in touch with the churches and let them know where the shelter's happening that night and all of that. And then, of course, for anyone who's suffering from domestic abuse, the Caring Place here in Valparaiso is doing great work, good overnight shelter work. And they have a 24-hour hotline, an 800 number, 1-800-933-0466, that anyone can call. If there's someone who is being abused and needs to get out of that situation, they should call the Caring Place, and they will help them.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of the Caring Place, and we have two people here who are very familiar with their campaign project right now, and both of you may chime in on this. How are we doing as far as getting their funds that they need to for their new building?
I'm not up to date on that. You might know more than I do, Sheriff Reynolds.
Well, I know initially they needed I think
May need to pull that microphone closer, sir.
2 million. I think they're about 1.4 short right now. They've done a tremendous job of the way they're going about it. The problem is, I think they're still trying to get the message out that there's a need. I mean, they need a new women's shelter, and that shelter they've got is 100 years old, and they've got one working bathroom right now, and it's full. And I think you and everyone is doing a tremendous job of getting the word out, but it's a struggle for them, and so we're trying to do everything we can to help that and to get the word out.
And you just had an event to help raise some funds for them as well. Is that correct?
We had a Christmas party, and we asked, and it's basically free to come to the party, but we asked everyone that came to bring a gift card, and from Walmart, Kmart, and just the people that showed up, they raised over $7,000 in gift cards.
Amazing. Good. And that is, I tell you, if we're getting close to the end of the year, so I know, and this shouldn't be the reason why you should give, but for a lot of people, they have an eye on tax incentives over the year. Mm-hmm. So by all means, this is a facility that does provide shelter for all the abused people in Porter County. And right now, I mean, they have 27 beds, is that correct, currently? And with the uptick that we're seeing in domestic violence, that's not enough. I mean, and they've been doing a good job in trying to make accommodations, but still, it's a well over 100-year-old house, and they do need help. So if you are looking for some things to do, look them up on their website. I think it's the Caring Place, and we'll have some information on our Facebook page after that. But they do need a new facility because their existing facility, as Sheriff so eloquently put it, is falling apart, and they do need to make some accommodations for the children and for the adults. So now that we've talked about the shelter, I guess some of the next things that, if I'm thinking, gosh, am I looking for a place to stay? Gosh, the holiday seasons are coming up. Looking for a place that I can maybe go to have a meal on Christmas. Can you share with some of the food pantries in the area, and also where a person can go to get a free meal?
Sure. But before I leave the shelter thing entirely, I should mention there are people working to bring a new shelter opportunity to Porter County. It's called Family Promise. They're a nationwide organization, and they specifically focus on families. We're 3 to 4 families at a time, and they are hosted in churches. But that's still in the works and hoping to get off the ground this coming spring. So if anyone's interested, or maybe there's a listener who their church is not involved in any shelter type ministry right now, and you'd like to know more, I'd be happy to provide info for that, maybe on the Facebook page.
Right. And is there a clearinghouse for a lot of these places that you know, Rich, or is it just
for shelter?
Right, for shelter, someone that has a friend that needs some space, or do you want to just give your personal cell phone number? No,
I don't know if there is one clearinghouse. I send most people toward housing opportunities.
Right.
There's another organization here in town called First Contact that tries to be that first point of contact for people if they are in need, whether that's with financial assistance. They point people toward the trustee and toward other assistance, and so they might be a good place to call if someone's looking for that kind of help. And here in Valparaiso, their phone number is 462-8332. 462-8332. It's called First Contact. It's a Christian resource and referral ministry. So they try to keep their finger on the pulse of how to meet needs in the area. But you were asking about food.
Right, food pantries, and then also...
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about holiday meals. You mentioned specifically like someone looking for a place to eat on Christmas, and I don't know where to send somebody for that exactly.
I think St. Teresa's, is that the Catholic church that's
St. Teresa of Avila, yeah, it's the Catholic Student Center that's on LaPorte Avenue right by the university.
I believe they do something on Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I could be wrong.
Well, I know every week they have a free meal, Cafe Manna, they call it, Thursday nights at, let's see, what did I write down here? 4:30 to 6:30. So if people want to, they serve 3 to 350 guests every week, a free meal. And if people want to volunteer, they're always looking for volunteers. 464-4042 is the number there. But yeah, I don't know specifically if they have a meal on Christmas Day.
I think they do. Kathy and George Vrabel, who are a couple that are highly involved, I believe so. But look them up if you're looking for a place, don't have a place to have a Christmas meal with. I'm pretty sure that they do, because I do recall them promoting that. So getting on to the food pantries, which we've got quite a few in the area.
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 main food pantries, I guess maybe 4, here in the Valparaiso area. The Christian Food Pantry, which is right downtown, 7 Chicago Street. It's in a building owned by the Methodist Church. They're open every Monday and Wednesday from 10 to noon every week. And they will be doing Christmas baskets here this next week on Monday and Wednesday, December 18 and 20. Special extra baskets they put together for a Christmas meal. And they basically serve people in kind of the greater Valparaiso area. There's a map. Anyone can show up there and get food the first time without... And when you show up, then they'll tell you, well, here's the information we're going to need for the next time you come back, and do you live in our service area and all of that kind of thing. And if you don't live in the area that they serve, they point you toward a food pantry that is closer. So Monday and Wednesday, 10 to noon is the Christian Food Pantry downtown. Emmanuel Lutheran Church has a food pantry on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3. They're over there on, their address is 1700 Monticello Park Drive. What's the main street that is? That Glendale, Evans, I forget which one that is, that they're right off of. But then Hilltop Neighborhood House also runs a pantry, which is open the first and third Thursdays from 9 to 11:30. They're located at 554 Locust Street, is where the pantry is located, 554 Locust Street in the Hilltop neighborhood. So yeah, Christian Food Pantries, Mondays and Wednesdays, 10 to noon. Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3. Hilltop Neighborhood House Pantry, first and third Thursdays of the month from 9 to 11:30. And then Salvation Army of Porter County also, I think, has a food pantry. They're located up on Highway 6. I don't know the details there other than I see on their calendar, on their website, at Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. I know Housing Opportunities used to run a food pantry out of their location there on Calumet Avenue, but now it's much smaller. It's more like a food closet, and it's for their clients, people who are being served by Housing Opportunities. St. Paul's does a holiday meal. I think a Christmas basket giveaway is coming up this coming. Is that Monday, December 18th? I don't know the details on that. I know I've given people rides there before to pick them up. I don't know if people have to sign up for them ahead of time or what.
Yeah, I believe if they go to St. Paul's website, they have all the information about for volunteering because you just drive up and you have to pre-qualify obviously to come pick it up. But if I remember correctly, they provide a turkey and all the side dishes for the meal.
Fabulous.
So yeah, it's a pretty nice thing. They provide enough for your size family. They size up the turkeys and everything. So there's a lot of work
Very cool.
doing that. Yes, it is. It's
I did get word. I was asking on Facebook this morning. I said, "Hey, I'm going to be on the Bill Moran show later, talking about these different kinds of things. Anybody know of one?"
Then they said, "Who?"
Yeah. Anybody know of opportunities or things like that? And someone mentioned Merry Meals. I think they're out of Chesterton, that they have been delivering Christmas meals. So if you go to Merry Meal, like Merry Christmas, Merry, MERRY, merrymeals.com. I don't know much about them. I just know someone who said, "Hey, I know they've been delivering Christmas meals." And I went to the website real quick and saw that, oh yeah, over the past few years, they've been serving folks. And I know we just left Thanksgiving behind us, and there's a big push for Thanksgiving meals here in Valpo with that group called 500 Turkeys. I think they served, was it 1,300 or 1,500 people, a Thanksgiving meal this past Thanksgiving. So yeah, there are lots of ways to get involved in helping our neighbors who are hungry.
Right, and we want them to stay out of the person that's to your right shelter that he has.
Right.
We want to try to avoid that.
Boy.
Although they do serve meals there, try to encourage you to look after one of these other places and before you resort to that.
There are other places to go. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Not that he's accommodating there, but you don't, believe me, it's a bad bet. You don't want to go to that route. So, Rich, is there any other things you could share with us? Maybe some outreaches that would help the folks out there know about during the holiday season or even beyond?
I mean, there are all sorts of different things that happen, and unfortunately, it's not all. There's no one clearinghouse, like you mentioned, where everybody just says, "Oh, here's something we're doing, and here's something we're doing." Different people have tried that over the years to try to, like Valpo Life, has tried over the years to say, "Hey, please tell us what you're doing, so that we can let everyone know." But every different church and group and Rotary, Lions Club, all these different groups have all these different things that they're doing to serve the community, but they don't all publicize it in the same place in the same way. So if someone is looking for ways to volunteer or to help, there are tons of them out there. If you got a friend that goes to church someplace or synagogue or something, talk to them and say, "Hey, how could I serve?" You could call the United Way and find out. They could point you toward lots of different organizations, nonprofits here in the area, or talk to the Community Foundation or something like that. If you're looking for help, one other thing you could try is the 211 number, which is just a social services number that I think the United Way helps to make happen. I think it's a nationwide number. And if you go to 211.org, they ask for your local, your zip code or whatever, and they start to funnel you toward local social service agencies. So it's sort of like you call 911 if you've got a medical.
411 for information.
Yeah. 211 is for social services.
Oh, well, that's good to know. That's really good to know. All right. So if you're out there and looking for a place to stay or a meal, if you're underprivileged, call 211 and give them the area that you live in, and hope they'll direct you. And United Way is a very good resource as well. Yeah. Megan just had them on our partner show, All Rise. In fact, she did a block of 3 shows in a row having United Way folks, and they have a tremendous amount of volunteers out there. And so if you're 2 things, if you need help, call them. Also, if you're looking to help, call them. They have an amazing network of volunteers throughout Porter County. So with that, Rich, is there anything else?
Well, I was just going to mention that this community does tend to be very generous, and people have a big heart for helping those in need. I talked to some folks who live in other places, and sometimes they're amazed. They wish their communities would be more like ours, just in the ways that people are looking for ways to help their neighbors. And so if there are folks out there who are thinking that you'd like to do this, you'd like to get involved in serving in some way, you're certainly not alone. You'll be in good company. And there's a reason, I think, sometimes that well, we want people to know that they're welcome here. You know, this community isn't just for, you know, the rich and famous or something like that. This community is for all of us who live and work here. Hopefully there's room for all of us at the table. So.
Right. And a lot of us, and you touched upon something that a lot of people view Porter County as, and maybe specifically Valpo, is a upper class community, but they're, you know, in a lot of cases, they're wrong when it comes to people that are in need. It's kind of alarming to know some people that are classified as homeless. Oh, yeah. I know when I was with the Valpo schools, that was their job to fill out a report annually about the homeless, and it was amazing. And that's the people that we know about, and that somehow they're classified by knowing that they're living out of a car, or you know, that their children are needing resources, specifically in our Title I schools. So, but when we get them down to it, how do you find out if someone's homeless? So, and getting that information out to them. But there's quite a few, unfortunately, in Porter County and the Valparaiso area.
Because we're not a city like Chicago, you go visit Chicago and you see homeless people because they're sitting on the sidewalk or they're asking for money or something like that. It's much easier not to see them in a town like Valparaiso or any small town like ours, because they're not just sitting on the sidewalk asking for money. They're probably finding someplace warm to be, or they're homeless because they're crashing at a friend's place, but they don't have anything remotely permanent. You know, they're sheltered temporarily, very temporarily, but they're still classified as homeless. Just because they're not, you know, sitting out on the street overnight doesn't mean they're not in need of a place to stay.
In fact, someone just shared with me the definition of homeless. And it's pretty broad, actually. If you are not paying rent or you don't have a mortgage and are staying with someone, you are classified as homeless.
And you're not a minor, like a child or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So
if you're at your parents' house and not paying rent, that you're not homeless.
Yeah.
Well, for you 50 years olds out there, they're still living with your parents. Really, it's time to move out. It really is. So, Rich, listen, we appreciate you coming on, and we're going to have you on again. Yeah. Appreciate it. And with this, we're going to take a moment of transition. We've got a station break coming up, and we'll be right back with you. Thanks again, Rich, and if we don't talk to you, have a great holiday season, and give Stacy and the kids our best.
Will do, Bill.
Yeah, and one thing that Rich and I do share, we're parent of twins. And he doesn't exactly have the aging look that I have yet, but it will get there. Believe me.
I've got some gray in the beard.
It'll get there. It's sleepless nights but one thing I'll leave you with this: you can't pay attention to one without giving equal attention. They will let you know. It's a built-in twin trait. So,
all right.
You have a great holiday season, Rich, and we wish you the best. And we'll see you Sunday.
All right.
And with that, we're going to transition here and just play our station break, and we'll be back with you shortly.
You are listening to The Bill Moran Show on WVLP LP 103.1 FM and streaming live at WVLP.org or on your TuneIn app. We are broadcasting live from the historic 1 Center Street building in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. The Bill Moran Show is underwritten by Recovery Works of Maryville, Indiana. If you or a loved one are struggling with a drug or alcohol problem, please call us at 866-535-4673. Now, back to your host, Bill Moran.
Well, welcome back, and we're going to try something new. Kelly Rosala is going to introduce our new segment called Region Rants.
Well, thank you, Bill. Region Rants is something that I mostly do in the car. People who drive with me will know that I'm a really nice person normally, but when I get behind the wheel, I get a little cranky about things that I see.
Yeah, when I drive with her, I'm extremely offended. The language changes drastically.
It does. But there are things that I see that irritate me and I don't understand. Things like, why are some of the round-the-clock restaurants not open round the clock? That defeats the whole name purpose of the restaurant. And why are some 7-Elevens not open from 7 to 11, but they're open round the clock? So I'm very confused by these things. So that's my rant for that. Also, I'm a Lake County girl. but I spend a lot of time in Porter County as well. But I noticed in my area, within a 1 mile place, there is 5 mattress firms within a mile on one road. And I don't understand that. And it says something to me about how many mattress firms I see all the time when I'm going, are other mattress stores. And I also see a lot of jewelry stores and a lot of lawyers. And I'm trying to figure out if that says something about our society. Mattresses, jewelry,
A lot of lawyers
and lawyers.
wearing expensive jewelry, maybe.
Or lots of people doing things and buying jewelry for people they shouldn't be, and so they end up needing lawyers. I'm not sure. I was on 8094 the other day, and I noticed that there were work zone signs up that said work zone, speed limit, only 45 or only 55, but there's no construction going on anymore. So why are those still there? That really irritates me. And also, why is it when there's construction zones, when there's nobody working, but there's 800 cones and barrels to mess up the traffic, but nothing's going on? Why is that? And why does the sign say only 45 in this work zone, but nobody's working? So can't it just say 45 when workers are present? Because the worst thing that's going to happen when workers aren't present is you're going to hit a plastic cone. So I'm confused by these things too. Also, when a sign tells you that lane is going to be ending in 2 miles, and then it tells you again it's going to be ending in a mile, and then it tells you again it's going to be ending in a quarter of a mile, get the heck over. Stop trying to speed race all the way down and then make everybody else slow down so you can get in. When if all you did was just merge, you could just go the speed limit and keep on going. Also, why is it that so many parking lots mimic the lunar surface? You know, if you own a block of stores and you own that property, repave your parking lot. You know, suck it up, Buttercup. Just get it fixed so people will come and spend money at the stores that you own.
I warned you, Dave.
Also, on the way here, I noticed that gas prices in one spot were $2.19 a gallon. Then a little bit later, it was $2.31 a gallon, and then it was $2.59 a gallon. But sometimes I also see it where it's $2.19 at one side of the street and $2.33 at the other side of the street. But there are people actually filling their tanks at the station where it's $2.33 when all they have to do is go across the street and save money. That irritates me as well. And I think that's it for my Region Rants today.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And this is something you're going to hear from Kelly every show. So,
Absolutely.
And this is going to be a product of both the All Rise and the Bill Moran Show.
And if you out there have any suggestions for my Region Rants, things that absolutely drive you crazy too, go on to the Bill Moran Show website and give me some suggestions. I'd appreciate it.
Oh, boy.
I know.
Think we opened up a can on
we
that
did.
one.
Yeah, we did.
With that, we're going to turn over to our guest, Sheriff David Reynolds. Welcome to our show, Dave. And you're no stranger to our show.
No, good morning, Bill.
If you could get a little bit closer, maybe. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, and Dave has actually participated in our roundtable discussion on drug abuse in Porter County, which, boy, I tell you, that was a great conversation we've had. Then shortly after, the last roundtable we did on that, Dave came up to me and said, Bill, we've got to talk about our second largest problem, which was domestic violence. And lo and behold, you don't not do what the sheriff tells you to do, you get in serious trouble. So what I did, I followed your instructions. We put together a roundtable discussion on domestic violence, and that was eye-opening. Oh my gosh, that was absolutely eye-opening. So with that, welcome to our show, and what we'd like to talk to you about, you just released the part 2 of your video. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, it is heroin is not a problem, it's an epidemic.
Yes.
So if you want to share with us a bit about that.
Yeah, we knew the first one was done and produced in 2015, and we had, I think it was, I don't know, maybe 100,000 views, and we showed it to all the schools and with really good response. And we're still showing that, the first video. We've shown it through even outside the county, throughout the state, but 2 years later, we still have our problem, and the problem's changing a little bit. So we sat down, we thought, it's probably time to do the second like a follow-up or a sequel, if you will. And so we produced part 2. And what the difference was is that there's a lot of similarities, but there's some striking differences because the problems changed. And one of the problems is the emergence of fentanyl. In 2015, we knew fentanyl was around. Chicago was experiencing some fentanyl, but it hadn't reached Porter County yet. Well, in 2017, there's no heroin that we're recovering or purchasing that doesn't have fentanyl in it. So it's in all heroin. And fentanyl is a synthetic opiate that's 50 to 75 times stronger than pure heroin. And they're using that to cut the heroin. And because of that, we're seeing the increases of our overdoses. So in the video, there's a lot of mention of fentanyl. And so it's the purpose of the video is strictly for education and prevention. We mentioned at the beginning that it's for parents and grandparents, because we also have realized in showing the video, the first video, is that we did get a really good response from grandparents, and which we found out are raising their kids because their kids or their grandkids, because their kids are in jail or not around. And so where things have changed, maybe when you and I grew up, grandparents are a major part now in the family. And it's unfortunate because it's their time to maybe enjoy life, but they because of certain circumstances that have been exposed to them, they now raise their kids. So the video's for them too, so they can see what's going on. And what we did is we tracked down all of the people that were in the first video, all the inmates. And we didn't use them all, but we used quite a few of them to see like where you are at now. Some good stories and some bad stories. The first video, we had some family members that had lost their child, their daughter or their son of overdose. And we mentioned them, but then we found a couple other very recent parents that had just lost their loved one, and we gave their side, their version of what happened and what they wanted to really get across in the video. So the video itself is a little bit more graphic. I think we have a lot more photos. It's not a scared straight video, but it's kind of borderline scared straight video. The point is that we're trying to get to the young adults, as we did the first one, so we can empower them to make the right decision. Because oftentimes what we found is it's not a party setting, like what everybody thinks it is. It's a situation where all of a sudden they're exposed to drugs or what they're doing, and the temptation is there, and they have to make that decision on their own. Their parents might not be there, law enforcement won't be there, their teachers, and they're going to make that decision. So that's kind of what we did, and thus far, we had two versions. We had one version we put out, and we had an instant tremendous response. I think we had 125,000 views and 2,000 shares within like 48 hours. It was unbelievable. And there was a couple pictures and edits that we wanted to do. So we had a second version of the first one. And what we did at the end was we put in basically a disclaimer at the beginning that it is kind of graphic. So parents need to understand that. And at the end, how we actually ended the video, we believe, that there's hope. That if you know of someone that has an addiction problem, to call the sheriff's department, and we give the phone number. And we also have prepared a community treatment program, which includes all of which I have right here, which has all of the treatment providers in Porter County. And people are calling. So when they call, we can tell them where to go and where they need to, seek help if they need it. And this flyer brochure is in all the police officers' cars. It's at 911 has it. all the girls that work at the police department, and I think it's our way of trying to communicate to the loved ones of addicts themselves, but maybe loved ones of addicts, of where that there is hope, that there are a lot of people out there that can help them if they all they have to do is ask.
And if I remember during the roundtable discussions, and this is the scary part about this whole situation, and as you repeated many times over the past year, this is the #1 problem in Porter County.
There's no question. I mean, if you look at all crime, we had a kind of a busy last 72 hours over the weekend, but every incident that we had, our SWAT team out, we had a murder, we had an armed robberies. We made an apprehension there yesterday, but all of those cases, and almost every case that we're involved in, involves substance abuse. It either involves alcohol or it involves drugs, and unfortunately, it involves heroin. And it's almost every crime that we work on, all law enforcement in Porter County. So it is definitely the number one problem in Porter County.
Right, and one of the things that I saw, I believe it was around August, Chuck Harris, who's the Porter County coroner, unfortunately is a barometer for what's going on. During our discussions, we discussed per capita, Porter County actually, and this is nothing to brag about, but is leading the area, and that's including Lake County and LaPorte County. Then comes along Chuck and gives us disturbing news is that where I believe at that time in August, and we're not at the end of the year, we'd already exceeded the amount of drug overdose deaths at that time compared to last year. So it's disturbing, and it's by no means a reflection on our law enforcement and all the other. It's our society that we live in, and we are an affluent area, which of course draws in the product, unfortunately, and those seem to work hand in hand. And now you've talked about the video and some of the problems that are still there with drug overdose. You have some other programs that you're working on to help to get in front of this problem. One is in the jail that you're helping administer Vivitrol, is it?
Right.
A program. So if you want to speak with us about that a bit.
Yeah, it took about 6 months, a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of partners involved in this in the Vivitrol program. But what that is a heroin block. And we looked at it 2 years ago. It was very expensive. But Recovery Works through the state and Medicaid has now allowed us to get involved in it, and they actually fund the program. So what it is if you qualify and you apply and you're in the jail and you're in a non-violent offender, and you can apply, and in lieu of maybe spending more time in jail or going to prison. There's a court order. You're court ordered by the judge, so there are attorneys involved, the prosecutors involved, PACs involved, our mental health provider, our health provider in our jails involved. So you have a lot of people involved in this program. But if you apply, then you take this. And if you're accepted, you get a Vivitrol shot the day you leave. And what that does is it blocks the heroin, and it also blocks alcohol. So you get that block, and it's good for 28 to 30 days. And so if you go out, you're court ordered, so you're under the umbrella of probation and PACT and in the court. But you're basically what we liked about the program is that you are court ordered to receive treatment. So it's just not the shot. You have to go to treatment. Now you can go either to Porter Stark or you can go to Frontline, but you have to do that. And if you don't, then you're in violation of your probation, and of the court order, and then you'll be rearrested. And we just started this program. We've got about 5 or 6 people that are in the program. We have a waiting list of applicants that we're interviewing. We think in about 6 months we'll probably have about 60 people involved in the program. And then you can ask me in 6 months how it's going. But obviously, everything's based now on evidence-based decision-making. So that's kind of the thing right now. So if we know we have to keep track of how effective it is, and of course we want to know how effective it is, but it's an answer, it's an option that we can use to keep these, basically force users and addicts to seek treatment.
Right. And one of the things I do want to say is hats off to you for leading the way in this area.
Absolutely.
I know Lake County is just now getting to the point of looking at that program, and LaPorte, who unfortunately is now, if not exceeded our drug overdose problems, is also looking at that. So, Dave, and I know you first brought this up during our roundtable discussions, and just hats off for providing leadership in that. And with that, I would like to ask you to, and I know collectively people gave a round of applause when you announced your candidacy again. And what is this, the 4th time?
I'm currently in my 3rd year of my 3rd term, so we have term limits in Indiana, so this will be after next year. The election's actually next year, so that'll be my 4th time.
Well, we really appreciate that, because you've led in so many ways, in just not dealing with this problem, the drug problem, but also domestic violence. You were in the forefront trying to help folks get the caring place. You were there right at the county council asking them to support, and also I think I saw your picture just about every fundraising event for the caring place. So a very active member of our community, and boy, I know I, for one, am going to be supporting your candidacy, because you are a true leader in the law enforcement environment, and you've done a great job, and hopefully we can get you in there again.
Okay, thank you.
And we would like to kind of offer you maybe coming on here again and just keeping us up to date with various different things.
Anytime.
Great. Thank you again, Dave. Anything else you want to tell us about the going on in the Sheriff's Department?
No, I just think it's, tomorrow we're having we're partnering with the Porter County Substance Abuse, their banquet and breakfast, and they're acknowledging the officers throughout the county on DUI arrests, and also this naloxone saves. So that's pretty good. I mean, like what we talked about earlier with Pastor Schmidt, it's a partnership, and we partner with the Porter County Substance Abuse Council very well. They're a tremendous asset for us. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow morning. Another person you have in your department that is helping you get a curve on this problem is Reverend Berkey, Jay Berkey is actually administering a lot of these programs and educational programs. He's been on here before, and I've come out and interviewed both of you at the Sheriff's Department. The other thing that I do want to offer a thank you on is allowing us to, later on this month, we're going to have a panel discussion on domestic abuse, rape, and sexual aggression. And in order to make these ladies, and there's a gentleman involved, to feel comfortable, Dave has offered the location, undisclosed, but let's put it this way, he's just offering location, so you may guess it, but good luck trying to get in that, pal. So we thought the safest place would be a place that the sheriff would pick for us, and he has done so, and thanks a lot. I know I've talked to some of the ladies already, and they feel a lot more comfortable being in a place where they don't have to worry as they tell their story. Someone could be barging in and trying to disrupt their story. And it's a lot of like our roundtable discussions before, but a lot of this is still raw to some of these folks that are going to be telling their story. And I thought what we would try to do is make it a more controlled, safe environment so they can feel comfortable in letting that story out. We're not pointing fingers at anyone. We just want them to tell their story. And a lot of them is heartbreaking, especially what's going out today. It goes beyond some of the things you've heard about in the Me Too promotion. And a lot of this is going to be a retelling of domestic violence and intimate partner violence. So again, Dave, we would like to thank you again.
again, and I'll keep in touch with you as we get closer. We picked a date that we're going to be coming out. So with that, Dave, anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, keep on doing what you're doing.
Right.
We feel safe here. Even though I'm now a resident of Lake County, I feel safe coming into Porter County.
Good.
Lake County, not so, but no, I
Stop.
won't get it.
Stop.
Okay, I'm not going to pick on my home county anymore.
That's right.
So it's great over there. So, Dave, thank you a lot, and so we're going to continue on going on the show, talking more about this collaborative effort that we have with All Rise, and a lot of things will be changing. I know they're thinking about changing the name of the show, although that may or may not happen. I don't want to speak to that. But again, I think we feel good about it because it is going to be a collaborative effort with PACT, who actually underwrites this program. And they're going to more gear towards or move the purpose of their show more towards the topic of recovery, substance abuse, and I'm going to stay on my side of the fence, or stay in my lane, so to speak, and we're just going to talk about general topics and, have people like we've had on before. We've had celebrities on the show, and we may have a celebrity next week, so stay tuned. I don't know if they call him a celebrity, but I know in Lake County he's a celebrity. Maybe
That's
not
true.
so much here. So we could be having an interesting guest next week. But that's the general gist. We are going to begin separating. It's a merging of the program, so we will do periodically. If one of us says, hey, we've got a roundtable discussion, be on domestic violence or drug abuse, and those get kind of hairy, because what happens on a 1-hour program, sometimes because of programming, we have to wait almost a month to maybe 2 weeks to a month before we do the second roundtable discussion, and people lose track of what we discussed. So this is a way where we can actually have those discussions without having to keep looking up at the clock and having to remind everyone, okay, we need to wrap up. So that is a part of the collaboration where we'll be bringing both items of concern from the general community and also items concern having to do with substance abuse, and have 2 hours to talk about them without being so much restricted by the clock. So with that, we would like to thank you all. Keep in mind, again, Megan is kind of on vacation, if you will. You're taking a break, but she will be back with us on January 3rd, and that's when we are actually going to have our full 2-hour live show, where she'll be on beginning at 11 and be with you all the way till 1 o'clock. And we'll have 2 distinct segments. We'll, as much like we are today, stop and begin the All Rise section. So and you'll get the gist as we go on. With that, we would like to wish all of our listeners a very safe and happy week as we roll into, and now we're the second day of Hanukkah. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I was going to say, for all of our Jewish listeners, happy Hanukkah.
And then also very merry holiday season for the rest of you. And just keep in mind, we're in the holiday season. Be kind to each other. Be understanding. You know someone that needs help, try to get them help. This is the holiday season. We should be doing that all the time. All the time. But more so now that we are trying to celebrate where a lot of our origins come from. So with that, we wish you a very happy and safe week and weekend. And this has been the Bill Moran Show with Bill Moran and Kelly Rosella. We will talk to you next week.
You have been listening to The Bill Moran Show on WVLP LP 103.1 FM and streaming live at WVLP.org or on your TuneIn app. Broadcast live from the historic 1 Center Street building in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. The Bill Moran Show is underwritten by Recovery Works of Maryville, Indiana. If you or a loved one are struggling with a drug or alcohol problem, please call us at 866-535-4673. This show will be rebroadcast on Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. on WVLP. The Bill Moran Show podcast is available on iTunes and YouTube. Have a wonderful week. Bye for now.